End the season now. Start the lockout now. Because the Los Angeles Dodgers quite literally addressed one of their two holes. And not only did they address one of their two holes, they absolutely got one of the top three, arms in the market, in the free agency market. This is quite literally, you can make a argument that Diaz was the best closer bullpen guy in the market, and the Dodgers went out and signed him. And the thing is, it's not like the Dodgers, went out and outbid everyone by a lot of money. 3 years, $69 million. He's really not getting that much of a pay raise. But the fact of the matter is, the New York Mets, who are supposed to be, one of the few teams that are going to be able to go par for par when it comes to bidding for players like Edwin Díaz. And this guy's been in your team for a while. You've relied on this guy to be your closer. You were putting out the trumpets every time this guy closed out a game. He was one of your own, and it seems like Cohen just doesn't like, some of the players because he's showing the same energy for the likes of Pete Alonso, who they're hesitant to give more than a 3-year deal, as if the guy hasn't been nothing but a great servant to the clubhouse. He's been a great player for the Mets, and the fact that they're doing him like that, and they don't have a better first baseman option than Pete Alonso, is absolutely crazy. Last year, you went out and gave the biggest contract in history to Juan Soto, and now Cohen is reluctant to outmatch the Dodgers for Diaz, reluctant to give Pete Alonso a bigger deal than just 3 years. This is outrageous, and the Mets ought to be ashamed of themselves, because the actual contract offer the Mets did was a 3-year, $66 million with modest deferrals. So they really did not want to go and outbid the Dodgers. They really try to play the card of, you've been with the Mets your whole life, you love being a Met, just come play for the Mets for a bit of a discount. Dude, that is absolutely atrocious management right there. And Cohen, you have blood on your hands. If I'm a Met fan, I am heated. How are you going to lose Diaz and Pete Alonso in the same market, right? And end up trading for Marcus Semien, who's going to be closer to 40 than closer to 30. That's your big-time acquisition that you're genuinely relying on to turn around the season from last year. You went from missing the playoffs barely to actually now you're going to be possibly under the Marlins next season, because the Phillies just kept Schwarber. Obviously, the Marlins are getting better. If you really check that division, the Braves have a track record of bouncing back. Honest to God, the Nationals have, a decent core going around. As long as they don't start trading C.J. Abrams and Mackenzie Gore, then they might have a chance to be competitive if they can make some acquisitions. But the Nationals, they're, how they are. They just hate competing for some reason. But this is atrocious from the Mets, and you're ruining it for the rest of the league, because last season, the Dodgers, what did they struggle in? Well, they didn't really have a closer, a reliable closer, and they went out and got the top dog in the free agency market. They were going around with Roki Sasaki. They were trying to make him a closer, and he was good and bad, very inconsistent, but he got the job done several times in the playoffs. The issue was, Blake Trinan, he wasn't being consistent. You didn't have a consistent closer, and now you went and signed Edwin Díaz. The only other thing they can really do is sign Cody Bellinger and, add that last piece in the outfield, and now you're going to have an unstoppable team. So, honest to God, the Dodgers are going to three-peat. The lockout, just make it happen now. Might as well start the lockout now, because there's no point. The Dodgers are going to win from now to the lockout, and then we'll see what the lockout has, what kind of effect it has on the Dodgers. But right now, Edwin Díaz is a Dodger. They're going to be getting Cody Bellinger or some sort of outfielder. I wouldn't be surprised if they traded Teo and they brought in Cody and Bader, which actually upgrade to the outfield. It's an absolute travesty, and I have to say that the whole league is cooked. Start the lockout now.